Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the Finally Fall book tag. So I did this fall book tag I think in 2018 and I really liked it. I had a lot of fun with it, so I thought I would do it again in 2020 and see how my answers differed. So if you're interested in doing this tag, I definitely tag all of you. I will put the questions in the description box below. But before we go ahead and get on into the tag, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new content. I post new videos every Sunday and every Wednesday, and sometimes I post bonus videos in the middle of the week. Let's go ahead and get on into the prompts. So the prompt says that in the fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. I'm going to go with Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I read this several years ago and actually really liked it and really want to read more of Naomi Novik's work, but this is an adult fantasy, and the reason that I said it has a vivid setting is because one of the main antagonists in this book is this evil forest that is surrounding the village where our main character lives, and it is constantly trying to encroach on this village and overtake it, and the only one that's holding this evil forest back is the sorcerer called the dragon. And our main character goes into this forest and we get to experience what this forest is and its history and why it's trying to do what it's doing and the evilness that lies within there. If you're someone who really enjoys like the creepy forest trope, I'm one of those, then this is definitely a good book to pick up because the setting of the forest is definitely super creepy and very fall atmosphere like. Prompt number 2 says, nature is beautiful but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but deals with a heavy topic. I'm going to pick The Giver by Lois Lowry, and I feel like this book is extremely well written. It's very easy to read by all age groups, but it definitely deals with some heavy themes. Really, the theme of freedom of choice, because in this world people really don't have freedom of choice. They don't have the ability to feel emotion. Their emotions are controlled, and there's definitely a conflict of like the individual versus society and what it means to be an individual. So I feel like even though this book is really easy to read for all age groups, the themes that it portrays and communicates, as well as some of the situations that Jonas, our main character, has to deal with, can be pretty heavy and pretty dark at times. So I think The Giver is a great example of a book that is beautifully written, but deals with some very heavy topics. The next prompt says, fall is back to school. Name a nonfiction book that taught you something. For this one, I'm going to have to go with The Dark Net. I got this book from the library, I think last summer, and it's all about the evolution of the dark net and what can actually be done on the dark net and kind of the things that have emerged from the dark net, especially with regards to the illegal drug business and trafficking and a lot of stuff that is really dark. I just really enjoyed reading about how the dark net came about, why, how it works, and what takes place actually on there. And it's definitely got some really dark and heavy topics in there about what can be done using the dark net or found on the dark net, but I really enjoyed learning about it because, you know, it's something that, believe it or not, everybody has access to, and the fact that something like that exists and cannot be shut down or has not been shut down is just fascinating. So I definitely learned a lot reading it. The next prompt says, in order to stay warm, it's always good to spend time with the people you love. Name a fictional family or friend group that you'd like to be a part of. For this, I'm going to go with The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So we have this awesome group of characters. We have Gansey, Ronan, Adam, Noah, and Blue. And this book for me is just the perfect example of an awesome friend group. They love each other to death. They are hard on each other. They tell each other the truth, even if it might hurt you. They are just an awesome friend group that I believe is the best part of this entire series, because I do have some issues with like the plot and things like that. And the only reason that I love this series as much as I do is because of these characters and their interactions and how they function as a group and their dynamic. And it's one of my favorite friend groups. So I would love to spend a day with the Raven Boys. The next prompt is, fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fire. Name a book that includes a book or story within the book. This was kind of hard for me. I didn't want to choose something obvious, so I'm going to go with Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. This is an adult fantasy, and I read it several years ago, and I fell in love with this book. We start off with our main character as we are kind of listening to him recount his story about how he ended up where he was. So it kind of starts in the middle of the plot, and it's told kind of in flashbacks, but it's not going back and forth between present and future very often. It does happen occasionally as our main character is being moved around and things like that, and he's has to reorient himself and start his story over to the person he's telling it to. But the majority of this book is our main character Valen's story of what happened to him. I've heard that it has a very similar narrative structure to Name of the Wind, so if you like the way that Name of the Wind main character is telling his story, then I think that you will like Blood Song just as much. The next prompt says, the nights are getting darker. Share a dark, creepy read. For this, I'm going to go for anything by Edgar Allan Poe. I have his entire compilation of poetry and short stories, and Poe is by far my favorite author of all time, and I feel like if you choose any of his short stories, you will get a dark, creepy read. Some of my favorite stories from him are The Pit and the Pendulum and The Cask of Amontillado. He just creates such unreliable narrators, such creepy, dark characters, and there is just so much atmosphere in his stories, and his poetry especially. He is just a master wordsmith. I absolutely love it. So I feel like if you read anything by Edgar Allan Poe, then you will get that dark, creepy fix. The next prompt is, the days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up anybody's rainy day. For this, I'm going to choose To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, and I feel like at first glance this might not be like the most heartwarming book out there, because this book does deal with some heavy topics such as discrimination and prejudice, but at the same time it is just a very, very heartwarming coming of age story and loss of innocence story with regards to Scout, and I really like Scout's transformation as she does evolve into a young adult, because she learns what it means to be empathetic. And I feel like empathy is something that we don't do enough in our culture. We don't teach enough in our culture, and it is just absolutely vital to human relationships and successful human relationships. So I feel like the theme of empathy in here is really strong, and what makes this book such a heartwarming read. The next prompt is, fall returns every year. Name an old favorite you'd like to return to soon. For this one, I'm going to choose Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is book 3 in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I actually started rereading this trilogy at the end of last year. I used to read The Hobbit with my middle school students every year until they recently changed the curriculum. And I had read The Hobbit last year, obviously, and then I read the Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, and I just never got around to reading Return of the King, and it's been on my mind to go ahead and pick this up so I could finish my reread of this trilogy, because I absolutely love it. And when I reread the Fellowship of the Ring, oh my gosh, I just loved being back in that world, and it just warmed my heart. So The Return of the King is one that I definitely want to get to by the end of 2020. The next prompt is, fall is the perfect time for a cozy nightly read. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. I don't really have any specific cozy reading accessories. I do have a chair, so if any of you guys have watched my vlogs, you've seen my blue cozy reading chair, but that is usually where I sit and read, and I curl up with a blanket, and I'm surrounded by all my books, and it just makes me happy. So I love having a reading chair and a reading nook, so I'm going to say that that is probably my cozy reading accessories. And the last prompt is, the colorful leaves are piling up. Show us a pile of your colorful fall spines. So believe it or not, when I was curating the books for this tag, I was like, oh my gosh, all of these have fall colors on them. So I think of fall is brown and red and gold and orange and yellow, and I thought that was really ironic. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you all of the books piled up, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so we have The Giver, Uprooted, and I switched out the Raven Boys with The Dream Thieves, To Kill a Mockingbird, Blood Song, and The Return of the King. So I love that all of the books that I chose, for the most part, ended up having fall colors on them. Okay, you guys, so that is it for the Finally Fall book tag. I hope you enjoyed hearing my answers. Let me know in the comments if you've done this tag or plan on doing this tag, because I would love to hear your answers to these prompts, and I will see you guys soon in another video. Goodbye!
Thank you.